Hello. Today I'm going to read from Encyclopedia Brown Shows the Way, written by Donald Sobel. The Case of the Rattlesnake's Rattle. Sunday afternoon, Encyclopedia and Sally went to the Museum of Science for the opening of the new children's exhibit, Touch and Feel. Small stuffed animals and fish, as well as shells and bones, were set on low tables. Mobs of little children were touching and feeling. Encyclopedia was petting a rattlesnake when Chester Jenkins wobbled up. "What time is it?" Chester asked. "2:30, said Encyclopedia. "Are you going someplace?" "I'm staying right here," said Chester. "Cherry fruit punch and chocolate cake will be served at 3 o'clock. Cherry fruit punch is my favorite." "I didn't know you had a favorite," mumbled Encyclopedia. Chester is one of the nicest boys Encyclopedia knew. He was also the roundest. Once after lunch he fell down and rocked himself to sleep, trying to get up. "I've got a half an hour to go," he moaned. "You just came for the eats?" exclaimed Sally. Chester sucked in his belly 9 inches. "I'm a volunteer guard," he said proudly. "I'm guarding the exhibit and helping the little kids, but I have to sneak off for a bite. I'm starving." "You can't leave your post," protested Sally. "I'll bring you some cake and punch." "Would you?" said Chester. Then he frowned. "There might not be anything left. This is a big crowd." "Don't worry," said Sally. "My Aunt Wanda's on the refreshment committee. I'll go early." "Now you're talking," said Chester. He moved away to watch the Touch and Feel exhibit. Encyclopedia and Sally wandered into the less crowded parts of the museum. The two detectives lost track of time. It was 5 minutes before 3 o'clock when they remembered Chester. They hurried to the cafeteria. Children were already lining up for refreshments. A long table was laid with bowls of punch, 6 chocolate cakes, and paper plates, cups, and forks. Sally found her Aunt Wanda and explained about Chester. "If he waits another minute, he'll bite anything that doesn't bite back," said Sally. Aunt Wanda understood. She cut Chester the first piece of chocolate cake. It had 7 layers. Chester could handle 8 without even using his teeth, thought Encyclopedia. Armed with a piece of cake and 3 cups of cherry fruit punch, the detectives returned to Chester. He should have been delighted. He wasn't. "I lost my appetite," he said. "Look, the tip of the rattlesnake's tail, the part with the rattle, was missing. Someone had stolen it." "They ought to call this the Touch, Feel, and Take exhibit," said Sally angrily. "Did you see anything suspicious?" asked Encyclopedia. "I was watching the cafeteria." Chester confessed miserably. Suddenly he snapped his fingers. "Hey, I remember something," he said. "Just as the ladies were bringing out the punch and chocolate cakes, Esmond Dinglehoofer asked me the time." "What time was it?" "2:45, said Chester. "Esmond said, 'I'd better get home or I'll miss the auto races on TV.' But he can't be the thief. The rattle was still on the snake when he headed for the front door." "Esmond is in the 7th grade, said Sally. "What was he doing at an exhibit for little children?" "Let's find out," said Encyclopedia. Esmond was on his front lawn when the two detectives biked up. He was making stink bombs. "I thought you'd be watching the auto races on television," said Encyclopedia. "Oh, I've seen faster action watching a zipper," said Esmond. Nobody cracked up, so I came outside. "You were at the Touch and Feel exhibit at 2:45, said Sally. "A little later the rattlesnake's rattle was discovered missing." "So what?" snarled Esmond. "We've come to get it," said Sally. Esmond shook his fist. "What you see is what you'll get," he threatened. Encyclopedia wished Sally didn't rush into things. "Somebody stole the rattle while Chester Jenkins was looking away," he said quietly. "Chester, that big tomato should have kept his eyes on the exhibit," said Esmond. "He was watching the refreshments," said Encyclopedia. "Listen," said Esmond, The ladies were bringing out the punch bowls and the 7-layer cakes when Chester told me it was 2:45. I came straight home to watch television. So Chester told us, admitted Encyclopedia. But you're probably lying just the same, said Sally. Esmond drew himself up to his full height. A lie has never passed my lips, he declared. Stop talking through your nose, retorted Sally. She stamped her foot. Oh, I wish I could prove you're guilty. I can, said Encyclopedia. How? How did Encyclopedia know that Esmond had the rattle on the rattlesnake? Well, let's see. Chester said that Esmond came up and asked him what time it was. But Chester doesn't say if he asked. Esmond doesn't say anything about who asked who. Chester just told him it was 2:45. So he came to watch racing on TV. This lady was bringing up the punch. So Esmond headed for home. He can't. Chester saw him go out the door, and the snake still had his tail. Got any ideas? Seven layers. 7-layer chocolate cake is huge. Okay, I don't know what he's going to dig out this time. Now let's see what he says. And 2:45, Esmond said to Chester, I better get home. Encyclopedia knew Esmond had said that only to make Chester think he was leaving. Esmond didn't go home. He went out of the museum and slipped back and stole the rattle. Just before 3 o'clock, Aunt Wanda had cut Chester a piece of cake, the first piece. Esmond was supposed to be home by then, yet he knew the cake had 7 layers. He couldn't have known that unless he was in the museum and had seen Aunt Wanda cut the first slice. Okay. He said it was a 7-layer cake. Okay. So he said more than he should have known.